Well, thank you for coming in with us and meeting with us here today. I hope your dinner was to your liking.
Well, it was great.
So we'll just get right on into it with the first question, which is calling back to your 2016 interview that we gave with you when you first started as AMA president. Now, as you prepare to leave the role, how does it feel looking back on your time?
I feel good about I served 3 consecutive terms, and under the AMA bylaws, that where you term limit after your 9th year. And I feel good about my term as president, but probably more so, I feel good about the AMA and the hobby as far as what we went. When I first started as president, I was stepping down from the government relations work. And we were still pretty much in the throes of that, because from the 2012 through 2016, the FAA was working with and modifying the special rule for model aircraft that we got passed in 2012, and revamping it every time they did the FAA reauthorization bill. So we weren't real sure where we're going to end up on that. So in my first term as president, I stayed pretty close to the government relations work, just to monitor, help out, and work within that effort. But since then, I've been able to get out from under that a little bit and start more with the other AMA programs in terms of our education department, our foundation, our clubs, and our competitions department, the FAI community. So yeah, all in all, I think the term of office went well, and I'm hoping to leave it in good hands.
I can say since starting here in 2020, your tenure here has been great. I've heard great stories about your time in government affairs from Tyler when I was in government affairs.
Sure.
And all the hard work you put into that, so it's definitely appreciated.
You bet.
We'll go into your time more so as a person within the government relations. You were very deeply involved with that area of model aviation. So how has AMA's relationship with the FAA and other aviation groups changed during your time in office?
Well, I don't know so much that they've changed as much as they've intensified. We've always had relationships with the FAA, but we always have had close and ties to other aviation organizations such as EAA, AOPA. But because of the effort that FAA was going through to identify this new technology of unmanned aircraft and how they're going to deal with it and what model aviation role would be within that, there was a lot of uncertainty going into it. People may remember that for years we operated under a very, what I would call, loose advisory circular 9157 that basically just said stay safe and fly friendly for the most part, with very few guidelines. And the FAA saw the need for the UAS as an industry as a whole needing more regulatory constraints. We obviously didn't see that the same way, because model aviation has been flying safely and almost transparently for well over 100 years. So it was a challenge to work through that process and work with the FAA, but we always worked within the system. We tried not to take a posture of getting at odds with the system, but to work through the system and make it work. My main goal, and I stated this when I started it, and I've said it throughout the process, my main goal was to make sure that model aviation survived, to make sure it thrived, and to make sure that we continue to fly model airplanes much the same way as we did in the past. And I honestly believe that we have achieved that. There have been a few additional entanglements that we're into, but all in all, I think you can still go out to the national flying site or your local flying site and fly your model airplane much as you have in the past.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the good relationships that we have right now with the FAA and other governing bodies is a lot in credit to you and your efforts before becoming president. So thank you for all the great effort you've put in.
I think that we actually have gained greater recognition and prestige within the aviation community. as I said before, we kind of flew transparently within the community. And nowadays we're actually at the table and we're part of the process, and I think that's to our benefit.
Yes, absolutely. We'll go back to your experience before you became president, when you were in the National Guard, part of the Civil Air Patrol back in 8th grade, and you were a pilot for the Arizona Department of Public Safety. So how did working in these roles shape the way you have led AMA?
Well, I've always been in leadership roles, going all the way back to my high school years in Civil Air Patrol. I was the cadet commander for my local Civil Air Patrol squadron. And that led me into leadership roles within the Army and the National Guard. When I was working for the Department of Public Safety, although I started out as a line pilot, I ended my last 9 years as the aviation commander. So I've always kind of sought and migrated into leadership roles. And I think my leadership style probably was shaped mostly from the military, starting with, as I said, the Civil Air Patrol. But you know, interesting enough, my approach to life and my passion for life actually started with model aviation, because I started flying model airplanes back when I was about 6 years old and received little Cox plastic 049 airplanes for Christmas. And started flying that way. And then as I got into my middle school years, I met up with a group of guys that were in the Civil Air Patrol with us, and we started building balsa-type airplanes that actually flew much better than the old plastic ones. So although my careers have moved in different paths throughout the years, my model aviation interest and passion has always been there. And I can honestly say that from age 6 to today, that's always been a part of my life.
Absolutely. I have noticed that since joining the AMA, it was a hobby I wasn't necessarily familiar with before, but since joining this, the passion that the members have is definitely noticeable and it's definitely admirable. And I see that in your leadership, and it definitely shows. Are there any particular programs or initiatives you're especially proud of having seen grown while you were president?
Well, I think the government relations work certainly is the center point and the centerpiece of my work within the AMA. But I spent 15 years as the District 10 VP before I stepped down to work on government relations. And one of the biggest challenges in District 10, which is mainly the West Coast and other parts of AMA, but I was focusing on District 10, is the acquisition, the development, and the retention of flying sites. And the council back in the 90s developed a program that started, which we still have today, of flying site assistance. And I was able to use that program in the early years to open 6 different flying sites within my district. So I take some pride in that, because getting new flying sites on the West Coast is a real challenge. Unfortunately, even today, we're continuing to lose flying sites due to development, due to changes in government programs such as Forest Service and Park Service. So I don't think we're out of the woods by any means as far as finding new and keeping our flying sites. But we did some pretty good work back in the 90s and early 2000s when I was the VP, and I'm pretty proud of that.
As you should be. I know we have some of our largest clubs out in District 10s.
Yes, we do.
When you first stepped into the role, you talked about keeping AMA relevant and viable for future generations. Do you feel like that vision was accomplished?
Yeah, I think, we've actually heightened the model aviation community within the greater aviation community and the greater aerospace community. There's been a natural evolution where members of our community have gone on and achieved great things within the aviation community, and not the least of which, as an example, is Neil Armstrong, who was an Advent AME member and competitor in his youth, and obviously went on to become one of our astronauts and walked on the moon. But he's not the only one. There's been many others that have followed, that have gone on and actually made their mark in the aviation community. And I think Model Aviation has always served as a stepping stone into those careers. And I think even today, that continues. And I'd like, hopefully, to believe that that'll continue in the future.
And of course, every leadership role comes with its fair share of challenges. Is there one challenge in particular that stands out to you that you're proud of having overcome?
Well, I keep going back to it, but I would have to go back to the government relations work again, because I stepped down in 2008 and worked directly on it from 2008 to 2016. And those were pretty formative years where we weren't really sure how it was going to shake out. We had our goals for how it would shake out, and dealing and working through that process was probably the biggest challenge that I faced in my tenure with AMA. So I would probably go back to that. Although, putting that aside, I think just working with AMA as a community, working with staff, working with the executive council, making that whole process of making the soup work and keeping it running and keeping it amicable, I think that's a little bit of a challenge too.
Of course, yeah. You've also received some of AMA's highest awards, among them being the Distinguished Service Award, the Meritorious Service Award, and the Fellowship Award, and you were, of course, inducted to the AMA Hall of Fame in 2013. How would you compare those recognitions to having been the president of AMA?
I'm very appreciative of the recognition. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm not the type of individual that seeks recognition, so when it's kind of bestowed upon you is very humbling. But I am very appreciative. But my goals has always been not to achieve awards, but to accomplish my goals within the AMA and to make Model Aviation better and make sure Model Aviation continues. I think if you've read my columns, I almost always end with some comment about wanting people to just get out and enjoy the hobby, because this is a hobby. This is supposed to be fun. Although the work of AMA is at times a challenge, and there is work to it. Going out and flying model airplanes is what it's all about, and that's fun. And flying it with other people and interacting with other modelers is fun and enjoyable. So that's what my aim is, more than anything else, is that people have fun and enjoy this hobby.
Exactly. And I'm sure over the years, because you're so involved in the hobby, you've been to tons of AMA events and met countless members. Are there any events that you truly love attending and you just look forward to going to every year, or members that you enjoy getting to interact with?
Well, I just about any time I get a chance to get out and interact with other modelers and attend events, it's a great day. Although in my youth and going through the hobby, I started out with control line. I did a little bit of free flight. The bulk of what I did was radio control. And I felt it was important as the district vice president to try and spread my time and attention equally to the different disciplines within the hobby. So I made a concerted effort to get out to see free flight, get out to see control line, to go see indoor RC, to go to IMAC, go to pattern, racing, you name it. So I think, although there wasn't one event that stands out, although there's been some pretty significant events over the years, like Top Gun, Joe Null, just being at the events in themselves is rewarding.
Now, talking about the Nats, we do have our 100th year of the official Nats coming up. Are there any particular years of the Nats that really stand out to you?
Well, I think people that have been in the AMA and the hobby for a long time kind of look back with fondness of the days when the Nats were run by the Navy and actually traveled around the U.S. And it was a little more condensed in those days. So you could go to the Nats and see all of Model Aviation. You could spend the morning watching free flight. You could spend an afternoon watching control line. You can come in the next day and watch RC pylon or RC pattern. So I think those days of the Nats are what a lot of people look back with fondness. The nets today are spread out over a longer period of time. They're at the IAC every year, so they've changed a little bit. They're no less important or no less prestigious for the organization. And I think that every summer, because I live locally, I'm able to come out here and see different aspects of the nets. But unfortunately, we've lost the heightened involvement that we had in the nets a few years ago. And I'd like to see some way of getting it back, but we haven't quite cracked that nut yet.
Is there any advice that you would like to give to whoever steps into your role after you?
Good luck. I think that the advice I would give, working with the Executive Council is interesting and unique, the way our governance is structured. The President does have a leadership role, but the President really is more of a chairman of the council and a coordinator. And it's important to realize that not everyone at the table is going to have the same viewpoints, is going to come from the same walk of life. That there's going to be important that all sides get aired and that all sides are eventually pulled together into the mission and the direction of the AMA. So I guess my advice would be to have patience, but don't forget the focus on where the organization is heading and helping the council move in that direction.
And a big focus of the hobby is the community of the hobby. So I think if they really remember that the modelers and the clubs and just the fun of being in such a unique hobby is also a good focus to have.
You bet.
Now, they'll also be present when AMA celebrates their 90th anniversary. Do you have any advice for them on how to really celebrate that milestone?
Yeah, I think that we have an opportunity here. The 90th is certainly a benchmark within the life of the AMA. But maybe even more importantly is the 90th is that last tick mark as we move up to our 100th year, which is just 10 years away in the centennial. And I think the 90th should serve as a kickoff to the 100th and actually energize the community, the larger Model Aviation Committee, towards the thrill and the involvement and the expectations leading up to that larger event on, what would that be, 2036?
I believe so.
I mean, I'm hoping I'm still around to see it, but I would love to see the centennial to be a true and monumental celebration of model aviation and model aviation's contribution to the aerospace and aviation community.
As it should be. It deserves a fantastic celebration. It's a great sport. Looking ahead, what does your future with the AMA look like in general?
Well, I'm going to continue to stay involved. If they need me on committees, I will certainly do my best to serve on the various committees. The foundation, I sit on the foundation today because the president actually has a seat on the foundation board per the bylaws. But even after I step down as president, if the foundation needs me, I would be willing to stay on as a member of that board and help the foundation. The foundation has done a great job of building the heritage of our organization and building a future that we can use towards perpetuating the hobby in the future. And I think that people of my generation, have the ability now to help fuel that and make sure that future generations can enjoy this hobby. And I think that's a somewhat new and important aspect of our community, and I'll be willing and grateful if I can remain involved in that.
What message would you like to share with members who have supported you throughout your entire AMA career?
Well, certainly I want to thank people anyone that has supported me, anyone more importantly that supports the hobby, people that share their passion for this hobby and the people that share the passion with others and promote the hobby. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope and wish there would be a way that I could get around and personally thank each and every one of them. That's probably not realistic, but I have a plan for after my tenure as president to get out and about and interact with the community even more than I've done in the past. So I'm hoping to have a chance to do that.
I'm sure we'll still see you at plenty of events out there flying, competing. Is there a favorite competition that you like to compete in, or a favorite plane you like to fly?
As I mentioned before, I started out with control line, and I did control line combat, control line stunt, and when I got into RC, I did a little bit of aerobatics, but not really very competitive in that. But I could go fast and turn left. So since I was able to do that, I got pretty heavy into RC pylon. I did scale warbird racing. I did Quickie 500. I did a little bit of Q40. So that's kind of where my biggest interest was in RC pylon. And although I haven't done it yet, I know that there's a lot of interest of movement towards electric pylon racing. So I think I may try my hand at that.
Oh, sounds exciting.
Sure.
I know RC aerobatics is definitely fun to watch, but I don't know how they are able to pull that off.
And another one that, that's interesting, in my full-time career, I've got thousands of hours flying full-scale helicopters. I can't fly an RC helicopter to save my soul for some reason.
Not quite the same
thing. But I love watching them, because what these kids and individuals can do with RC helicopters is just amazing. But my fingers don't seem to have the knack for it.
Well, are there any other words or statements you'd like to leave us today as you prepare to leave as AMA's president?
I think we pretty well covered it, but one thing maybe I would like to touch on a little bit is the importance and the contribution that you make and the staff makes towards this hobby. I mean, they are, I've had a chance to work directly with the staff because of my position with the council, and I'm amazed at the dedication, the level of commitment, the hours that people put in. They truly have this hobby and the membership at heart. And I would encourage members, if you ever get here and have a chance, stop by, take a look at the museum, take a look at the headquarters, and give a little bit of thanks and thank the staff for all the hard work they do.
We thank you for coming in today and speaking with us. You shared a lot of great insight, and you've had a great tenure as president, and you'll surely be appreciated and remembered for years to come.
Well, thank you.
Of course.